Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is PJ, and today I wanted to talk to you about the law of attraction, more specifically how to manifest and create using the law of attraction. Now, I know the internet is filled with videos on this particular topic. However, I have never been personally able to find a video or a book specifically that has helped me actually put this law of attraction to work and have it produce results for me in my life. However, in the past few months, I've been able to really crack that code for myself personally, and I wanted to make this video for you just as much for myself, because I wanted to put these lessons that I have learned over the past few months of things that I've been combining that have been helping me manifest more effectively than ever before in my life. I wanted to combine them in a cohesive video. This is that video, and share them with you so that they can serve for all of us, including myself, as a guidepost or a roadmap to how the law of attraction really works, so that we can put that into best practice for ourselves, for our families, and for the world, really, because ultimately the best manifestations are ones that not only impact us in a positive way, but the whole of humanity. And when we think like that, actually, we manifest a lot more effectively, because the universe, God, all being, all source, it wants to help us create, or rather create through us, what would help all of its children. And everybody on the planet are God's children, so to speak. And so God would work through us to help them the best way possible. And when we try to manifest from that place of wholeness and love and respect for all, we actually manifest a lot better. So with that in mind, with that said, let's go ahead and begin with the premise of this video, and the premise that has helped me manifest more effectively than ever before in my own life. Most law of attraction videos and most law of attraction seminars and books and audio programs, they all focus, in my opinion, this is not to, bash on anybody else's work. In my opinion, they focus too much on the form, too much on the physical, or too much on the external. And shifts really begin to happen in my own life when I switch that. And instead of focusing on form, I started focusing on the formless, on the non-physical, or rather the metaphysical of manifestation. And it was only through that shifts begin to take place in my own life, and especially when it comes to using the law of attraction in my own life. And I believe that's because the non-physical, or the spiritual, or the metaphysical is actually more real than the physical. So when properly understood, when we realize what is primary and what is secondary, getting that order right, it's like the order of operation in math. When we get that order right and we figure out what is primary and put the secondary as secondary where it rightfully belongs, when we get that order of operation right, then things happen much faster, much quicker, and much more effectively, because we're actually operating based on true principles. Now, what is that true principle, and what is that premise that has helped me manifest a lot better? It's this: we have to begin seeing the mind and placing the mind as the true cause, and everything in this world of form, in this manifest reality, in this physical reality, is the effect of the mind. Now, I'll repeat that. The mind is the true cause. Everything else is its effect. When I got that right, everything else began to change and shift in a positive way for me, because I was now finally getting that order of operation right. Whereas before, we are so much outside dependent. We let an outside circumstance dictate what we think in our mind. But when we flip that and we let our mind, which is the true cause, dictate the outside circumstances, then your whole life will begin to shift and change and mold in a different way based on your own creations here first. So the seeds were planted here first and sprouted, and then the manifestation of that is what you saw in the physical, but it was already done in here first. The mind is the true cause, is the true cause of creation. And when we get that right, everything else falls into place. And I will go into a lot more detail shortly in this video, but I just wanted to get that right. I wanted to emphasize that as much as possible. If we don't get that part, nothing that will follow in this video will make any sense or be effective, because the mind as the cause is the first and foremost primary episode of this season of manifestation. It's the first and foremost piece to this whole manifestation, law of attraction kind of thing that we're discussing here. If we don't see the mind as the cause, nothing else will work. So just wanted to set the record straight on that. Just wanted to clarify that as much as possible. And now let's go ahead and begin and talk about some of the more minute processes that go into putting the mind as the cause and the world of form as the effect, and using the law of attraction based on those premises that we just established. So the mind is very powerful, as I stated before, and I wanted to make this distinction here as well and start to see the mind as a projector. When we start to see the mind as a projector and the true cause, you have to envision this vision that I'm going to share with you. Start seeing the mind as a projector, and the screen of our life is the screen that the projector is projecting upon. So everything that in our life shows up in our projected reality is because of this projector projecting those images onto the projection screen. So again, the mind, another good way to look at it, not only is the true cause, but also as a projector that is projecting everything on the level of form, and everything that we're seeing is a projection made by the mind. The mind is the true cause and is projecting everything that we're seeing. So that is another important distinction to make here, and one that would benefit us greatly to understand in the premise of this video, in this context. The mind is a projector, and it is projecting what is held within it consistently and infused with emotion. This, what I just shared, is so important. Held within it consistently and infused with emotion. These two things, they need to, it's like a union, it's like a marriage, that when it forms, what's held within the mind consistently and infused with emotion, these two things, when they come together and combine, they are some of the most powerful, it may be the most powerful tool in the universe. The mind and what's held within it mixed with the emotion. These two are like the seed and the soil. When they come together, miracles happen, really. And these two together, what's held within the mind consistently and emotion, so feeling the emotion and holding something consistently in the mind, these two together, when they combine, they create the most powerful force in the universe. I truly believe that. What is held within the mind and emotion mixed within that. And what results because of the match between these two, it is the manifestation and everything that is projected on the screen, which is our life. Now, I'm going to elaborate on this image or visual of the mind being a projector a little bit more by providing the example of a movie theater. When you go to a movie theater, you begin to see images portrayed on the screen of the movie theater, right? But the true cause and the reason why those images are being portrayed there is because there's a projector in the back that is projecting what is held within it and held within it consistently onto that screen. The element of what is held within it consistently comes into play if you start thinking about it like this. If this image was cut like every 3 seconds, so it would like show on the screen for 3 seconds, go off, show on for 2 seconds, go off, nobody would enjoy that movie because it's not held, the image is not held consistently long enough in the projector for the movie to appear. In the same way, if something, a thought, is not held within our mind consistently long enough, the movie is going to be all choppy or not at all show on the screen of our life. So the movie is a manifestation in this case. It wouldn't show up if it's not held there consistently. Just like that movie wouldn't show up on the screen at the movie theater if the movie or the image is not held within that projector consistently. Now, the emotion component comes into play in another example that I'm going to use, and another analogy that has to do again with the movie theater. So what leads to an emotion? An experience, right? You can say a thought as well, but an experience, we have an experience and then we have a certain emotion. So this experience component is super important because of what I'm going to explain just a little bit after this analogy. So the analogy that I'm going to share with you now is this. If you're in a movie theater and you're seeing a movie, and in this movie there is a couple and they break up in the movie. If you were invested in those characters and their storyline, yes, you may also be heartbroken for a little bit. You may also feel that separation feeling for a little bit, but it would never be as intense as it would be if you go through a breakup yourself. And if you experience what they are portraying in the movie for yourself. So that experience component is super important. If you experience it yourself, the emotion would be 1,000 times more amplified than just watching it. So that's why in order to create the emotion, we are going to rely on experience brought about through certain activities that I'm going to explain in just a little bit. Now I want to reiterate on this experience component in this video because it's so important to really get this before we move on into the next steps. The experience is a key factor in this whole process working or not working. If the experience is there, it will work, meaning that you have to actually experience this. In other words, you actually have to do it to experience it. So this process, it would be completely ineffective if you don't experience it and actually do it, put it into practice and see it for yourself. It would not work without that component. Sometimes we want to take in information without the experience. The information by itself is not going to lead to the experience. It's the application of that knowledge that would lead to an experience. So that component is really important, but the experience component here that we're talking about is because the experience is what leads to an emotional reaction, a real emotional reaction. But the experience is also what takes faith or belief and turns it into a knowing, a personal experience. And so this experience component, it cannot be reiterated enough as it's such an important part of this process. So I just wanted to make that clear before we move forward. So now, the law of attraction, as it is commonly preached out in the world, it neglects process because it is so focused on the result or the outcome or what manifests out there. Now, I'm not saying that's not important, but the process needs to be more important than that to an extent, or to the extent that the outcome, the result, the manifestation would be either inconsequential or not even necessary anymore because of how much focus is being put on the process. Now, I'm not saying you don't want the result or that the result is just, you just don't care about it, but I'm trying to show you how much focus comparatively needs to be placed on the process. It needs to be so much to the extent that the manifestation would be unnecessary or not needed. And paradoxically, when you get to that place, you manifest. When you are so focused on the process, not the result, to a point where the result is inconsequential or not necessary, then paradoxically, you'll manifest a lot more. It's like when you detach from the outcome and you instead focus on the process, then the manifestation will ensue as the result of that process rather than just to focus on the manifestation. So that's an important point that I wanted to make, and the important distinction, another one of those important distinctions that I wanted to make here, because you have to be so focused on the process, and we'll speak more about the process in a little bit, but you have to be so focused on the process instead of the manifestation to a point that the manifestation is inconsequential or unneeded or unnecessary, and then paradoxically you'll manifest. It's like a miracle, but you just have to get this right. The process comes first. The process is what matters, not the manifestation. Not that the manifestation doesn't matter, but you have to focus on the process first. The manifestation will ensue as the result of the process. So just keep that in mind before we keep moving forward in the video. Now, the process of manifestation works a lot like this. I've been talking about the process. I keep saying the process. And now it is time to talk about what that process is and what it entails. So let's begin with the first step of this process. The first step in this process is this. Get clear about a definite desire that you have. So it could be, for example, for like love, money, a relationship, whatever it may be. Like, I want to be in a committed relationship. That could be a definite desire. So now this is the second step in this process. Figure out what is the underlying desire underneath that desire. So that desire is masking a certain emotional desire underneath it. So for example, the desire that I want to be in a committed relationship, this is not me saying that. I am already in a beautiful, loving, committed relationship, but I'm just providing this as an example. So underneath that desire, I want to be in a committed relationship, is the desire that I want to be loved, I want to be seen, appreciated, cared for, taken care of, feel whole, complete, whatever else it may be for you. But you have to dig deep, right? So you figured out the definite desire that you want, but what is underneath that? Let's dig a little bit deeper. Ask yourself, why do I want this? What is underneath it? You may have to follow that trail of whys for a while. So much so that you may have to spell while with a Y in it instead. And when you do that and you follow that trail of whys, you'll get to the underlying desire. This is a true desire. The outside packaging of that, I desire a committed relationship, that's just a packaging of that. What is it underneath it that you desire? Get clear about that. That is so important. Oftentimes, it's I want to be loved. I want to be seen, complete, whole, abundant, all those things. Those are the underlying. So get clear about that, as that is the step 2 in this process. Now let's move on to step 3 in this process. Okay, so now the third step is this. Realize that all those things that you desire from that manifestation, the manifestation in this example was, I want a committed relationship, right? So that was like the outside form or the packaging of that manifestation. Underneath it, we clarified that I want to, feel loved. I want to be seen, appreciated, cared for, taken care of, etc., etc. Those are the underlying, aka true desires in this manifestation that you actually desire. Now realize, and this may be a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of a leap and a jump for some of you, but this comes with time and this comes with spiritual practice. Now this is when we're getting into the metaphysical. This is when we're getting into the spiritual. This is when we're getting to the real deal, the true cause. You've got to realize that all those things that you desire out of that manifestation, all those things that we just discussed, the feeling loved, whole, etc., etc., all those things are true states of your true self. This is so important. All those things that you desire out of that proposed manifestation are already qualities and attributes of your true self right now as we speak. Who is or what is your true self? It's spirit. In my previous video, the long video that I made before this one, I was talking about how to tell the difference between the voice of the ego and the voice of the spirit, aka your true self. And in that video, I outlined, I presented a map. I may actually tag that here right now and put it on the screen. But in that video, I talked about what some of the qualities of our spirit are. Our spirit being our true self, what those are. And I'll actually outline those here for you as well, and again, put them on the screen so that you can see. But these true qualities of our spirit, as we're talking right now, literally these things are true already. You don't have to make these happen. They are already true. They are true states of being for our spirit as it already is. these things, aren't they all that we're seeking in every manifestation? Aren't these things the things that we are after? Love, wholeness, abundance, peace, joy, fulfillment, satisfaction, bliss. Aren't these things that we are looking for in everything that we are seeking? Well, guess what? These things are already true for your spirit, for your true self. This is so important to grasp. This is why this is an important process in this journey. You have to realize that, a lot of times people say in manifestation, it's like, imagine the desire already fulfilled, right? Like, so let's say you want a car. You imagine what it would feel like. You truly feel what it would feel like if that desire has already come to pass. If that dream had already manifested, like what would that feel like? And they make you feel that, right? But in this process, which again is unique for what has worked for me personally, and I truly believe it would work for you as well. Maybe some of you, maybe all of you, but I know that each of us have personal needs and personal way that we have to go about things. And this is the way that it worked for me. Realizing that I don't need to imagine the desire having already come to pass. I don't need to sit here. Now, that may work perfectly for some, and that is amazing, like keep doing what is best suited for you. But for me, I don't have to sit here and think about those desires having come to pass so that I experience the feeling. Because, okay, let's say I want a car, right? I want to manifest a car. And I sit here and I imagine having already manifested that car. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. I feel happy. I feel excited. I feel grateful. I feel joyful. The list goes on. Why don't I just feel that, now? So that's how they go. Some people go about it that talk about the law of attraction. But with this process that we're following here, we already identified what is the desired state that we're seeking underneath the manifestation. We already covered those or uncovered those rather in the second step, right? We figured out, I want to, feel seen, feel heard, feel appreciated, feel loved, etc., etc. We now know what those desires are. And now we're just saying our spirit is already those things, like mind blown. Like this is not something that we need to go create and manifest. These states that we're deeply seeking are already within. And the reason this is so important is because I want to make you realize that you're not going out there and trying to create something. Like, even if it's a state, I'm not trying to go create this state within myself. I'm not trying to go create being loved, being whole, being complete, being abundant, being innocent. I'm not trying to go create that as if it's not already there. It is already there. I'm just trying to look and seek where those states already are. So this is not a huge stretch and a bunch of mental gymnastics to, in a sense, it is mental gymnastics because we are so untrained in our minds. But it is not a stretch because you're not trying to create what is not already there. You're just trying to look for it in the right place, which is within your spirit. So that is the third step. I went so hard and tried to hammer that point home so much because it's so important. And I truly believe that was the big key for me. Realizing those states are already within me. Everything that I desire in a manifestation form will only be an extension of what is already true. And so this is, to me, it bypasses a lot of unnecessary steps. Like, it's already true. I just have to accept that and now experience that. And so now let's move on to the next steps, which will help us reiterate and take these points, these realizations home through experience. I have a few more points on this point that I want to share with you. Those are as followed. If everything is a projection of our mind, as previously discussed, as we talked about, and the mind projects what is held within it consistently and infused with emotion, then why don't we just go to the mind and experience it for ourselves? Meaning that we realized that our spirit already possesses those attributes, right? We already realize our spirit already is loved. It's already whole. It's already abundant. And mind is the activating agent of spirit. So why don't we already go to our mind and to our spirit and experience that for ourselves, what is already true? Because we know that the mind will project what is held within it consistently and infused with emotion. So again, we are approaching this whole process from a place of cause versus effect. We are putting ourselves at the cause versus being at the effect of the world. The mind is the true cause, and we are putting it in its proper place, aka we are making primary what needs to be primary and putting as secondary and placing as secondary what needs to be secondary. Another way that I personally understand this, and this saying is the background of my phone because I feel like it says so much in so little, and it's this. It's a saying by Jesus. He said, seek ye first, or seek first the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven, which in another part, he said the kingdom of heaven is within you. So seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, which is within. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, which is within, and all these things shall be added unto you. So focus on what is primary. Focus on that kingdom of heaven within, meaning that focus on the spirit first, which, as we mentioned, already possesses all those attributes. Focus on that first, and then all these things shall be added onto you. And so it's like all these things that you're seeking, all those things shall be added onto you after, aka as secondary part of the process. They shall be added onto you when you first have made primary what is primary, when you have sought and found the kingdom of heaven within you, which is to say the kingdom of spirit, when you have gotten in touch with your true authentic self, which is your spirit. When you have found that, all these things shall be added onto you because they are secondary. They are the effect and not the cause. The cause is the mind. And in your mind and in your being, you have found the kingdom of heaven within. And the kingdom of heaven will be projected in many forms. It will show up externally in many forms to reflect the light that you have sought and found within first. All of that to say, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, or find your spirit first, and all these things shall be added unto you, as Jesus said 2,000 years ago. So now, I talked about the true cause, the true effect, the mind being the cause, the world being the effect. I talked about that a lot, but I wanted to say this also, that the experience part we haven't discussed yet, and that is something that I will share with you more. How do we experience these states within ourselves? Okay, so like, cool, I believe my spirit is love, or I believe I am already whole, I believe I am already loved, I believe I am already abundant. How do I experience these? Which that is actually technically the step 4 of this, but I will outline this whole process even more clearly further down in the video, and I will talk even more on how the experience component comes into play and how do we actually experience what already is true, as we have discussed. But now let's add another component to this. All actions which seem to bring about the consequence or the manifestation of your desire, those actions will all have their genesis first in the mind. So keep that in mind. It seems like an action brought about a certain consequence that we desire or don't desire. Let's say I took the action to go to a car dealership and I purchased a vehicle. That seems like that action led to that consequences, and in a lot of ways it did. We're not going to neglect that or deny that. And the action part is super important, which we'll discuss later. But the genesis of that action, the idea for it first had its genesis in the mind. So the mind had the idea, and then the action seemingly led to that consequence that is desired, but it was the mind that led to the idea, that led to the action, that led to the consequence. So realize how that relationship works, and that the mind is the true cause, because the mind is the genesis of all these actions that seem to lead to these consequences that they bring about that we desire or don't desire. Even the things that we don't desire, even those things had their genesis in the mind, as well as the things that we do desire. So realize that, as it is another important point to add to this mix. We are baking a cake and we have many ingredients. So we are learning what those ingredients are, and we are also learning how to combine them properly. And as any good baker or cook knows, the order of operation is very important when you're cooking. And the same way here, we have to know the ingredients, and then we'll learn how to combine them properly at the right time. So now another important component, another ingredient is inspiration. Inspiration, which is derived from the root word in spirit. Inspiration is the channel or medium through which those states of awareness that we have felt within, those states of being that we have felt within, that we have been combining and infusing with emotion, inspiration is the way or the channel through which those states that we have felt within become made manifest. So inspiration is another component, is another ingredient that is crucial to understanding this list of ingredients that we are compiling together right now, and that we are going to even more clearly understand how to combine them into a process that works together and bake that cake that we desire. So let's do this together and let's move forward to the next section. So now let's put these ingredients that we just learned about, let's combine them into an experience. Later down in the video, I'm going to talk even more deeply about this process in a more articulate, more step-by-step, systematic way. But this kind of was just an introduction to it. Now let's use an example to bring these points home even more so. Let's say that you or somebody desires that relationship that we talked about. They desire that committed relationship. They realize, so this is the example. They realize that underneath that desire, underneath that manifestation, what they really truly desire is love, is a feeling of wholeness, a feeling of worthiness, being appreciated, love, being loved, being seen, all those things. Then they realize that those things that they desire are already an attribute of their spirit as it already is. So their true self, which is their spirit, already is loved, is whole, is appreciated, all those things. So now they begin to practice every day feeling those states. So they sit down for 20 minutes a day and they close their eyes and they try to imagine or experience that they are loved. They try to imagine. At first you have to imagine, you have to believe. And there is a great book by Wayne Dyer that I think is called You Have to Believe It Before You See It. And I feel like it encapsulates this concept that we're talking about. First, you have to believe, and you just have to act based on faith. So you sit down and you try to believe, you try to imagine that you are loved, you are worthy, you are seen, you are appreciated. All those things that you are desiring, that person is desiring out of that manifestation, having now realized those are existing attributes of their spirit. So now they set aside 20 minutes a day and sit down and meditate and work on feeling those states now. So feeling love, feeling seen, all those things. And now sooner or later, that practice will lead to an experience that will take their faith beyond just a belief into a knowing. So the way it works is that you first believe, then you experience, and then you know. It's again that you have to first believe it to then see it, aka experience it. And then once you experience it, then you know it. So those are the steps that this process works through. So they first believe it, and then they experience it, and now they know that that is true. Now they have experienced that they are loved. So now they know that truly. And that experience leads also to an infusing of that with true emotions. They have had a true experience of how loved they are, and that leads to a true feeling of love internally. So if they first just leaned on their belief and faith, well, that faith and that belief has now crystallized into an experience which has only validated and reaffirmed them that their faith was not in vain, that what they were putting their faith in is a solid ground. And so that faith has solidified into an experience and into a knowing, and with it, it brings about a solidification. It solidifies their emotional response, which again, going back to the whole first premise, it's the infusing of emotions with what is held consistently within the mind. So this experience that they've had, this knowing that they have now experienced, this has led to a true experience of that emotional response within them. So now they're mixing that emotion. They now know they are loved. They now know they are abundant. They now know they're whole. They're mixing that with holding within the mind consistently those states. So they're combining that thought with that emotion. And together, again, they're creating that superpower that leads to manifestation. So now over time, they are learning, this is again, still part of that example. They are learning that they can now live based upon what they feel and have experienced deeply within, and having found and come to know as true, that they can live by that unseen versus just what is seen, versus just what is physical. And they have found that to be as true, if not more true, than what is seen. And that is a state known as faith. And it's a very powerful state where you are walking as the embodiment of the truth that you have first felt within. So the world of form is not deceiving you as much, and it's not infiltrating your mind and deciding for you what to think and how to feel. That state that you have first felt within, it has solidified and has become real, and you have learned how to live by that unseen versus just what is seen. And so that is a very powerful state to live from, and it is a state that is commonly called living by faith and not by sight. And this is a state that leads to very powerful manifestations if practiced. All of these things have to be practiced to be real. So the reason this is important is because it is replacing the mind as the true cause, and it's placing the world of form or what is seen as the effect. So it's getting that placement right. It's getting that placement correct. And this way of being leads to very phenomenal results with manifestation, because it's properly placing the mind at the true cause, not at the effect. And that's why it's so powerful to experience that and practice this. So I just want to reiterate that to bring that point home a little bit more. So now this person in our example, having done these steps, now they learn to take action based on the inspirations that they have been feeling within. So again, these inspirations are the channel through which these states that are felt within are made manifest. So you feel that state every day. You immerse yourself in that state, in that way of being. That immersion leads to inspiration. Like you get an inspired idea to take a certain action. Then those actions will lead to results or your manifestations. So the action is a very important component, but inspired action is what leads to those powerful manifestations. Action by itself will produce results. If you want to lose weight and you just work out, you will lose weight. I mean, that's pretty much a fact. But is the way you're going about it the best way to go about it, right? So maybe, this is just an example, maybe you're lifting weight, but you get an inspired idea to instead go to a yoga class or go do some sort of other activity. And because that idea was inspired and you take action on it, that action will produce greater results because it's coming from a place of inspiration versus just the action alone. And this has been shown too. Like, there was a study, I believe, where they had these basketball players in 3 different groups, and one just did nothing. Like, that was like their test group. They didn't have them do anything. The second group, they had them just practice shooting the basketball every day for like a month. The third group, they had them just imagine shooting the basketball and just imagine that for 30 days. When they came back, the group that just had taken action and the group that just imagined, they were almost equal. The group that just took action actually was further, but if those people that had imagined, if they had combined that imagination of them practicing the shot, if they had imagined that and practiced, again, action and inspiration, imagination and action, those two together are so much more powerful than just the action by itself or just the inspiration, especially when it's not acted upon, which would lead to no results. So that person in our example has learned to take inspired action. And these inspirations will lead to greater results because this person is no longer acting alone. Inspiration comes from the root word in spirit. So this person in our example is now acting with spirit, which is the most powerful force and power in the universe. So they're not acting alone, they're acting with the most powerful force in the universe that only acts based on love. So the actions that they're taking now, that are inspired, that are with spirit, that are in spirit, they have a greater force behind them. So they produce greater results because your will is now one with God's. It's a greater will. It's not just self-centered. Nothing wrong with that. Like, oh, I just want to be in a relationship. When you are getting in a relationship from an inspired place, you don't know how many millions of people possibly you're impacting as a result of that inspired relationship. That inspired relationship may serve so many people through your union with your significant other. And when it's done from that place of inspiration, because you're not acting alone, because you're acting with spirit, is so much more powerful, and its power and its ripple effects will go beyond your wildest imagination. And that is why it will also produce greater results, because God is serving so many more of His children through your desire, especially when it's an inspired desire, when you're following it through its outcome from an inspired place and you're taking inspired actions. You're not acting alone anymore, and nothing can stop you because you're acting with spirit, and spirit is serving not only you, but so many other people through you as a result of this manifestation. So again, based on what I said at the very, very beginning of the video, when I said manifestations produce even more results when the greater well-being of all or more people are considered versus just yourself. Because God, the universe, it wants to work through you to serve the most number of people. So when you align your desires with that, you're unstoppable, because your employer is now God. You're working for God, and nothing can stop God. And so it's just immense power gets unlocked when you learn to join your desire, your will, with God's will. And at its highest peak, there is no difference between your will and God's will. It is one. When you truly come to know yourself as spirit, as who you truly are, your will and God's will be one. There will be no discrepancy between what God wants and what you want. You both want the same thing, and your desires are so much more powerful when they're coming from that place. So I just want to mention that and say that. And then boom, as a result of all of these things that we just did, or this person in this experience, in this example just did, as a result of these, they will find themselves into and in a beautiful relationship, a beautiful committed relationship that they have been seeking and wanting, but they first found that wholeness within, that love within, and it outpoured, it overflowed into, in a sense, it extended itself out into the world and manifested or gave birth to that manifestation of that relationship, because it is an extension of what they first felt within. It's a physical exemplification of what they first felt within. And so that's the happy ending to our story of our, example of the person in our example. So now let's move even more deeply into the processes, into the steps, because I know that it is only through the repeating of them that they become ingrained and a natural part of our thinking processes. So now we're going to give even more of a clear explanation of these steps. First step, you got clear about what you desire and the desire underlying that desire. I want the relationship. What is underlying that relationship? Desire. Well, it's, I want to feel love. I want to feel whole, etc., etc. So that is the first step. You can break those up into two different steps, or you could keep them as a part of the first step, because ultimately you're just getting clear about what you deeply desire. So that's the first step. The second step is you realize that this desire, this underlying desire, is already an attribute of your spirit, of who you truly are. So it's already an attribute. This is the second step. It's a realization. Okay, like my spirit is already loved. If I'm seeking wholeness, it's already whole. If I'm seeking abundance, it's already abundant. It's realizing that. So that's the second step, or the third. I feel like in the last part that I was trying to give us all an introduction into the processes, the third step was that step. But in this reiteration of it, it's the second step. So now let's move on to the third step here. The third step here now is that you set aside time every day. You have to practice. You can't just crush it at law of attraction or manifestation if you don't practice. Our minds are so untrained that we need so much practice. Maybe at such a high level, like an enlightened being level, things just happen. Like you don't even have to it's just like you're so aligned and in tune that instant manifestations happen. But for our mere mortals, like at this level that we need a lot of practice. So the third step is that practice. You set aside time, maybe 20 minutes every day. You sit down, you set an intention through prayer. Prayer is a way to set our intentions. So you pray to a higher power, to God, to, whatever you pray to, whoever is your spiritual master, spiritual source, and you pray in order to set that intention. So, dear God, I want to feel the love that I already am. I want to experience the abundance that I already am. I want to feel the wholeness of what I already am. I want to know who I am as you have created me. So you set that intention through that, and then you sit in meditation. Meditation is now a way to feel that intention that was just said. So that intention that we just said through that prayer, now we sit in meditation to feel that intention. It's like let it simmer in, or let it soak in, like seasoning, as Nicki Minaj said. Let it soak in. And meditation is our way of sitting and just letting it all sink in and soak in. So meditation is super important because it's our way of connecting to that state. Like I am loved, and now I'm going to sit and just feel that love. Over time and eventually, this will lead to an experience. So first you have to take it on faith. You have to act on faith. You have to act on belief, and you have to just believe it. But sooner or later, this is still part of the third step. This is still part of the experience. Let me put this into experience and see for myself. This is that third step. Sooner or later, you will have an experience that will take your belief, that will take your faith and solidify it into a knowing, into an experience. That's when you really feel the emotion. So it's not just some woo-woo nonsense thinking pattern that I'm just thinking and making up. No, I know it. I felt the kingdom of heaven within me. I know what's going on now. I know I am loved. I know I am abundant. This is not just some theory that is cool to understand and think about. I know it now. I've experienced it. I've seen and have looked within and have found myself not missing a single thing. I am whole. I am complete. I am fulfilled. I am completely loved as God has created me, as my Father has created me, as spirit. And so when you get to that place, all this thinking and believing is out the window. You don't need to believe anymore once you've seen it. You know, it's like, now I know what's behind that door. I don't need to believe that there's going to be et cetera, behind that door. I already know what's behind that door. I don't need to now have faith in that. You just know. And that's when things start to get real interesting. Now, this fourth step may be the hardest as of yet for most of us. You have to go about your day and face your day-to-day experience, no matter what happens, with the same conviction and belief that is rooted in experience. It's beyond belief, but you have to have the belief when you're facing your day-to-day reality in life. Let's say you have a bad day. Your day goes south. Your day goes sour. You have to have the same belief and the same conviction that I am loved. I am worthy. I am abundant. Regardless of how my day went, I am still what I experienced in my meditation this morning. So if you were in meditation and you felt how loved you are, you felt how holy you are, you felt how innocent you are, you have to face your day with that same level of conviction. This is the faith that moves mountains. This is the kind of way of going about it that's not just rooted in situations, in external circumstances. This is rooted in the reality that you have felt within. When you get to a place when you are not outside dependent for what you feel, and you are instead creating from within, so your relationship with the world is not inside out versus outside in. Outside doesn't determine and decide what happens in here, but what happens in here determines and decides what happens out there. That's when you become a master creator, a powerful creator, which you truly are. We just have forgotten. So now we are just reclaiming and reconnecting to who we already are. So this is a super powerful step, but most likely will be the hardest step for most of us. And why is that? It's because our minds are so untrained. We have to train our minds to think and feel and be in this way. And one of the last remaining freedoms that we have is this power of choice, is this power of decision that I can choose what I think in here, that I can choose what I feel in here. Nobody can choose that for me. I can be in a prison cell or I can be in heaven, and I still decide what I feel in here. It's up to us. We don't think that. Our minds are so untrained that we don't realize that, but we are choosing that. Your thoughts are your choices, and when we don't decide those for ourselves, the world is so glad and so willing to decide it for us. Oh, feel fear. Yeah, feel fear. Yeah, I want you to feel fear, or feel stressed, or feel this. You decide. You are the master of your domain. You are the master of your mind. You are the captain of your destiny. The reason that is true is because you can decide what you think. And I personally didn't realize how powerful my mind is, and that the power of decision over my mind is in my hands. The key is in my hands. The remote control is in my hands. I get to decide. And I didn't realize it, but two things helped me, and I truly believe they will help you. And these will be the only two things that I will advise in terms of mind training in this video, because I truly believe that it is so personalized, the tool that would best help you. We are so individually different in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways we are the same. So even though we are individually very different, I truly believe our brains kind of work the same. So these two tools that I am recommending in this video, I believe are universal and general tools that would work for anyone. And no matter what level of readiness you're at, you will find some helpfulness within using them and practicing with them. The first is prayer. Because prayer sets an intention and gives direction to your mind. So instead of your mind just running away, running around wherever it wants to go, you set the direction through that prayer. I want to feel love now. I want to experience feeling love now. I want to, sit down in this meditation and feel that I am worthy, that I am abundant, that I am guiltless, that I am forgiven, that I am loved. That's an intention setter. That's prayer as an intention setter. Prayer works amazingly when it's done and used in this way. The second thing is something we already talked about, just as well as we have talked about prayer, and it's the meditation. Meditation is something that I think would help any mind become more effective, any brain work more properly and more effectively, because meditation helps you focus. It helps you quiet your mind so that you can actually become more in control of your mind. You know how if there's a tornado going on or if there's a hurricane, how crazy it is to have control of anything? It's just chaos. Well, most of our minds are like that. It's just like chaos. But meditation doesn't make the chaos in the world go away. It makes the chaos in here go away. It makes you stand in the center of that tornado. So the tornado is still going on. You just now learn how to place yourself at the center of it versus being at the effect of it. So the meditation mixed with the prayer as an intention setter can be very powerful for anyone. But again, I highly advise you to tune into yourself and to your own intuition, which ultimately I believe is your best teacher and is your best advisor, and allow that intuitive guidance, or as I like to call it, the Holy Spirit, to guide you, because we all have that personal guidance. We all do. It's an inner voice. It's an inner knowing that we are just out of touch with for most of us. But if you learn to connect with that inner voice, that inner guidance, that inner advisor will direct you to the best paths, to the best tools, to the best practices for you. But despite of that, I think prayer and meditation will work for anyone in a very powerful way. But again, none of this stuff would work for anyone if you don't practice it. And so you have to put it in practice and see the fruits of it for yourself. And ideally, you want to practice them for over 90 days before you even expect to see any effects. But this is all because we need mind training. We need mind control in the terms that we need to control our mind. Because the term mind control is usually used in not a positive way. It's like somebody else is controlling your mind. But you want to be in control of your mind, so you need to do mind training practices so that you can regain control of your mind. Because your mind is the most powerful tool, is the true cause of any creation, any manifestation that you experience. Everything else is the effect of that true cause. So it's super important to train the mind to think along these right-minded thoughts and right-minded ideas. So now let's move on to the fifth step of this process. Step 5 is that you now have to pay attention to the inspirations that you will receive. So now you've been immersing yourself in these states. I am feeling whole. I am feeling loved. I am feeling abundant, etc., etc. As you are feeling those things on a consistent basis, as you're putting yourself in those states, you will begin to receive inspirations as you go about your day. You may be driving and, it's 2 days later after a meditation session that you just really felt that deep love. You felt your spirit. You felt connected to God. After a day or two, randomly, you don't even have to be like meditating or anything. It could happen then, but it doesn't necessarily have to. An inspired idea, inspiration usually comes in the form of an inspired idea, pops into your head. And the way it feels, it's like, it's like a light bulb. It's literally like, there's a relief to it. There's an excitement to it. And there is a feeling of like, a knowing of, I didn't come up with this idea. It just popped in my head. It just dropped in like a airdrop. And now you have access to that file, but you have to act upon it. And so that, in a sense, you can say that action is like the 6th step, but the inspiration is this 5th step. You have to pay attention to these inspirations that you will receive, because these inspirations are the true channel through which these states that you have been feeling within will be extended outwardly out of you into the world to serve not only you, but also others. So you've been feeling abundance within you every day. You've been practicing that. You've been feeling love every day. You've been practicing that. Inspiration will come to you that will help extend that abundance to others, that would help give that love that you have felt within, that wholeness that you have felt within, and give it and share it to others. And as you share it, you shall also receive it, because you are now giving of your wholeness. And that wholeness has no other way but to be reflected back to you, because the mind, like I said in the very beginning of the video, is a projector. It's always projecting your reality. You know, what you hold consistently in the mind and infused with emotion gets projected outwardly, gets extended outwardly, and then you experience it back. So it's like what you're putting out, you're going to get back, receive back. And so now these inspired ideas are helping extend the love, the wholeness, the healness that you've been feeling within out into the world, and it's going to boomerang right back to you. And so you are sharing them with others, and it has no other way but to be reflected back to yourself. But keep in mind also that it's not enough just to believe it in your meditation. You have to actually go out about your day with the same level of conviction. Again, I just gave a whole speech about, the mind training and the importance of that. That's why, because you can't, the meditation by itself is not enough. You have to respond to every situation throughout your day-to-day life with that level of conviction, with that same level of conviction, with that same level of faith and belief that you truly felt within your meditation. You have to go about your day, and your day tries to show you otherwise. No, I am loved. I know what I am. I know who I am. And that level of conviction, that level of faith, that moves mountains. That is a different place to come from. And that is the place that is actually needed to put the mind at the true cause. You have to be that willing, to be that convicted, and that sure, and that have that much faith. So it's very powerful, but it takes a lot of practice. So the next step is action, rather inspired action more accurately. And the reason for that is that these inspirations will come in various ways. As I earlier discussed, they will come in most likely in the form of an inspired idea. It may be somebody else says something and you get a massive inspiration from that. I've had that happen to me too, where I'm watching a YouTube video and I just, boom, like one line somebody says, like, just gives me a huge inspiration for something. But most often it's like a nudge, an inner nudge. And it's an inner whisper. An inspired idea just pops into your head. You have to act on it. And the reason for that is because action is what leads to the manifestation of that inspiration. So that inspiration by itself is just a seed. That seed will be nothing if it's not planted and if it's not watered. You see what I'm saying? The seed is massive, infinite potential. That seed can give birth to a massive oak tree, but you have to act upon it. So now let's put this into an example. I may have the inspiration for a business, so I've been immersing myself in this experience of abundance. So every day I've been feeling abundance. I've been feeling whole. I've been feeling complete. I've been feeling fulfilled, healed, complete, abundant, most importantly, as it relates to this example. And then boom, one day I'm going about my business after I've been doing these things in a consistent basis. I get this inspired idea for a business. But if I don't act upon that inspired idea for that business, that abundance that I have been feeling within, it will not get actualized out in the world, in a sense reflected back to me, and that abundance that is contained within that business idea, it would not be given me, and I would not experience it because I didn't act upon the inspiration for it. The inspiration was the channel through which that abundance that I first felt within and watered with my mind and my emotion, infused with emotion and consistently held within my mind, that abundance, that inspiration was the channel through which that abundance was going to be made manifest. And if I don't act upon that inspiration, the manifestation will never lead to that abundance being physicalized for me and coming through that physical form if I don't act upon the inspiration. In a lot of the same way, to use another example, is a relationship. if I desire a relationship and I've been doing these practices, I've been immersing myself in that love, in that wholeness that I wish to receive and that I desire, realize it as an attribute of my spirit now. Through meditation and prayer, I experience that every day. I put myself in that state. And then boom, one day I get this inspired idea to go to a gathering that I'm invited to, or a gathering that's in town. And I am just inspired to go. But if I don't go, if I don't act on that inspiration, and this has actually happened for me. This is literally the case of how I met, the love of my life. I had to act upon the inspiration to go to a certain gathering in order to meet the person that I am in a beautiful, loving, committed relationship with. Had I not acted upon the inspiration, the love that I first felt within would not have extended outward into a physical form for me to be in and enjoy. So again, it's like a boomerang, right? You first feel it within and then it goes out and it gets reflected back to you. It's like this. It's like I first feel the love within me. I keep watering, I keep watering it, or I keep immersing myself in that. And the inspired idea comes to me to attend a meeting or whatever it may be. And maybe obviously it will be different for you. It's going to be different. The inspired ideas are going to be different for every person because they're meant for that person at that particular time. It wouldn't be an inspired idea if it wasn't absolutely perfect for your time and place and who you are. Because that's how the Spirit works. The Spirit knows the future and what is to come. It knows the past. It knows who you are as, your personality, as you perceive yourself. Like, it knows everything. So when it gives you an idea, again, inspiration in spirit, when spirit gives you an idea, it's so much more powerful than an idea you would ever have because it's aligning everything in your favor. It's working exactly in the best way for you. So these inspired ideas are just, if a normal seed can yield, like let's say a seed for an orange tree. So if that seed can lead to a normal, regular orange tree, an inspired seed can lead to a whole farm of orange trees. So it's like so much more powerful. It has so much more potential. And so I personally had to act upon that inspiration to go to that certain meeting to meet the love of my life, which is really the extension of the love that I first felt within. It's being extended outwards and boomerang back to me as a way to, it's just how it works. It's the mind as a cause, it projects, and everything in the world of form is its effect. So what I hold within my mind consistently and combine with emotion, those things will be made manifest because they are the effect of what is held within my mind. The mind is the cause, the world is effect, and it will be boomerang back to me. And actions will lead to the consequences that their energy was rooted in. So these inspired ideas for these inspired actions, they come and they will match what I've been feeling within. So if I've been really honing in on that feeling of love, if I've been honing in on that feeling of abundance, these actions and these inspired ideas, they will match that frequency. They will be aligned with love. So the action will lead to results that would also match that same frequency, that same love. So I felt love, got an idea that was based in love, took action on that idea based in love, and it led to more love. It's just boom, extension to extension. It's like imagine like yourself, you're like a ball of light, and it's just extending big. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the way it gets bigger is because you immerse yourself in that state every day, and you have faith and belief as you go throughout your day. This light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and next thing you know, it's overflowing out of you. It's pouring. Your cup overflows, or what's the saying? Your cup poureth over, and it flows into your physical reality and gets reflected back to you in many ways, in the form that will be best for you. This is a super important point I'm going to say as the last point in this video. So often in the manifestation community and manifestation discussions, abundance, or law of attraction type of stuff, they are so focused on specific forms. Nothing wrong with that. I just have never found that to be useful. let's say a specific form. Let's say you are dead set on that this woman or this man is the love of my life. Like I have to manifest this exact person. Like you literally are like some person where you live, like you're like that person, you know, I want to manifest them. Or you have your eyes set on a specific job, for example. I feel like, and this is just me, this is my experience, I'm sharing with you my experience. I feel like that level of specificity as it relates to the physical form is extremely limiting, because contrary to our own belief, we do not always know what is best for us. So let's say you want to manifest a job really badly you want to manifest a particular certain job. Manifestation discussions and law of attraction conversations will have you thinking that you have to focus on that exact, on that job. I don't know so much if that's what's meant for us. And that's why when you go to the feeling instead of the physical form, again, the whole basis of this conversation was, let's focus less on the form and instead more on the formless, or more on the mind as the true cause versus the effects. And if I am so dead set on a job, on getting a certain job, and instead I let go of that specificity about that job, and instead I focus on the deep underlying feeling that I desire. Be specific about that. Is it abundance that you desire? Is it a feeling of safety? Is it a feeling of being taken care of? What is it that you desire to get out of that job that you think will bring you that? Instead, go feel the feeling. How it extends out in the world may be in a form much better suited for you, way better suited for you, because spirit knows a lot more about what's best for you than you do, that we do. I don't always have my best interests at heart. I think I do. I think I know what's best for me. But how often have we not received something that at one point we deeply wanted, just to be filled and overfilled with gratitude that we didn't get that because we got something so much better that we didn't even know exists? I've had this happen to me many times with jobs I thought I wanted, with people I thought I wanted to be in a relationship with, etc., etc. Them not having worked is the best thing that ever happened to me. So it's like, instead, go to the feeling of what you desire. Realize that that's part of your spirit or your true self as it is. And when you feel that, allow the form of it to be in the hands of spirit, because spirit will bring back to you what will be the best suited for you and for much greater number of people than you ever thought possible. So let's say you don't get that job, but you get another job that you didn't even know it exists. You didn't think it's the one that you want. But through that job, you become so helpful to so many people that you never even anticipated, that you didn't even know. And your impact will be 1,000 times more significant than the one that it would have been if you had gone to the job that you thought you want. So spirit knows a lot better. I mean, when we say, have thy will be done, not my will, doors will open when you didn't even know there are doors there. And when you live your life from that place, miracles happen, not just for you, but for others. And ultimately, there are no others. We're all the same being experiencing itself in many ways. And we are all extensions of the one same source. And so it's just a very deep, profound way to live like this. When you say, thy will be done, focus on the feeling, focus on what you want to experience, what you want to desire, and realize it's already part of who you truly are. And that will be made manifest in a form that is best suited for you and that is best suited for the world. So I hope you guys enjoy this process. I hope that you put it in practice and see it for yourself, because if you don't practice it, you will not see the fruits of it, the potentiality of it. And I wish you all the best of luck with this process. However, luck is an interesting choice of words there, because there is no luck when you apply these processes, because these processes are based on truth. And what you'll realize is that luck is a circumstance that is brought about through the use of certain proper processes. And this process that we discussed in this video is one of those processes that can generate luck for you, if there is even such a thing. Because this process properly understands and has understood the role of the mind in creation and in manifestation, and has realized that everything is an extension of that mind that is the projector of our reality. And when that is properly understood and these processes are properly applied, then luck will be their natural outcome. So I hope that you guys put these processes into practice and see for yourself and share with me everything that you have learned from using them. And if you have any questions about anything that I discussed, or you would like to dive more deeply into any of the topics that I talked about in this video, which there were a lot of them, and a lot of powerful topics were discussed in this video. If you want more help with any of those things in a specific way that is best suited for you, please check out my link in the description. That is a link to my one-on-one coaching service that I've began to offer recently, as that one-on-one coaching service is the channel through which I can be of most help to you. Because the most help will be provided for you if it's done in a personalized manner. As I said earlier in the video, if something is not personalized, if a form of practice is not personalized, if I just give general advice all the time, that may have some helpfulness. It may even have some helpfulness for a lot of people, but it wouldn't be maximized for you because it's not properly tailored for you. So yes, I made a sock that may fit everyone, but it may not fit perfectly for you. So if you want to dive more deeply into any of these topics, learn more about them, and have us discuss what path would be best for you to follow, then please check out that link in the description, as again, it's the link to my one-on-one coaching service. And I would love to see you within that container and within that format. As I said, we can go much more deeply into anything that I've discussed in this video or on my channel in general. So I hope to see you in that, and I hope to talk to you soon within that format and that container. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I truly hope that it was helpful for you. I know it's been helpful for me. These processes are finally the thing that made the law of attraction work most effectively for me that I've ever experienced. So I wanted to put them all in one process, all in one video, so that it can help you just as much as it has helped me. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more videos from me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can see my videos pop up on your homepage on YouTube. Again, thank you. My name is PJ. I hope that this video was helpful for you, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Thank you and take care.